expansionary fiscal policy is really not very feasible. So like I said, we cannot be tone deaf in the sense we still go ahead and say, hey, let's use fiscal policy and then write one full page. Okay? Context-wise, it's very hard. Second, Greece, Spain, Portugal, Italy, right? They're all part of the Eurozone, and that means they do not have their own currency. Okay? So, if I'm not wrong, Greece, their old currency is like called George Ma or something. I don't know how to spell it, right? But ever since they joined the Eurozone, they lost control. If you do not have your own currency, you can't print money, you can't change money supply to influence interest rates. This one is out of reach. It's not possible. Neither can you change the external value of the currency. We did this last week. You can't say, all right, the Greek authorities have decided, let's weaken the Eurozone. It's not their call. Who decides what to do to the euro? The European Central Bank. And the European Central Bank is a central decision-making body, and you can almost assume that it's dominated by the voices of Germany and France, the most important or the strongest members. Definitely not the Greek position. You can't use fiscal, you can't use monetary policy, which means you're stuck. Okay? And then they give you a question asking you to discuss policy solutions. How? Okay? First, this is a good point, or this is a good entry point to bring in austerity measures. And later we'll see how austerity works. So part of the answer involves recommending the use of austerity measures. I would like to say, I would like to tell you, oh, let's talk about QE, but you can't do QE. Remember, QE is a reaction to another limit, liquidity trap. QE means you're still printing your currency, but that is something they can't do in Greece. So QE is not required or not applicable here. Can we use supply-side policies? Usually when I say supply-side policies, you are thinking, how can supply-side policy help with a current issue? You see, most people think of supply-side policies as long-run supply-side policies, which means policies that target QQ cell. You are targeting to raise the quantity or improve the quality of factors of production, capital, enterprise, land, and labor. Things like skills upgrading, all right, will help. But you are probably thinking, that doesn't help to address a recession.
Sorry, isn't it
Yes.
entrepreneurship?
Yeah, entrepreneurship. So the spirit of enterprise embodied in the form of entrepreneurs. Okay? Can also. You see, this is a recession. You're at the Keynesian range. And potential growth through the above measures doesn't seem to help. In fact, demand deficient unemployment seems to have gone up. So, how? Nothing can be done. And there's something I have not mentioned yet. Okay? There's still one more policy that you can count on. Have you all learned about short-run supply-side policies? Short-run supply-side policies can be considered. Okay? So the point of going through this exercise is twofold. First, to show you how austerity can be brought into a discussion. And you can see that is when the question was very clear. They tell you about a debt problem that's unsustainable. Okay? Yes?
Does this question entail like things about employment?
Things about unemployment in the sense policies.
Yeah, employment and unemployment, like do we mention here?
Okay, when you are looking at the employment or unemployment issues, right, they are probably taken together with your recessionary problem. Because of the recession, cyclical unemployment or demand deficient unemployment is very high, which also means solutions are the same. Try to increase aid.
Because I was actually wondering if this was a relevant point to bring up.
Yes. Unemployment problem, you can bring it up when you talk about briefly why you need to address a recession, but that will be a very short one. The focus will be on policy measures and the pros and cons. Okay, now you see, short-run supply-side policies, you have probably learned in school, that they increase your SRAS, right? SRAS 1, SRAS 2. Have you all seen this diagram before? Have, right? So real output or real GDP goes up. That's precisely what you need if you are dealing with a recession. Okay. So, examples of short-run supply-side policies. Now we know that short-run supply-side policy, if you look at them from the surface, which problem do they address? Which macro problem can be addressed using short-run supply-side policy? We are looking at cost-push inflation, correct? So if your cost-push inflation is wages are too high, you can give wage subsidies, right? You can also say clamp down on trade union power, on trade unions. Or in Singapore, we also say, oh, you can reduce CPF contributions. Another way, okay, if you want to reduce maybe the cost of energy, if let's say there's a very big energy provider that's pushing up price, you can liberalize domestic sectors. Liberalize means open up to more competition. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Of course, if you are dealing with imported inflation, you can also appreciate your exchange rate to lower imported inflation. Because I said short-run supply-side policies aim to reduce cost-push inflation. Okay, you can also reduce business costs, reduce business regulations. You can also reduce corporate tax. Right, so I've come up with some examples of how to deal with wage push, profit push, import push, tax push inflation. So are you able to see that the use of these policies also help to deal with a recession because they boost real national income? Are you okay with that? And they do this not by shifting AD but by shifting SRAS. So in the case of Greece, you can consider these options except wage subsidies or cutting corporate tax. Why? I struck these two out because, like we said, the Greek government is almost bankrupt. If you're almost bankrupt, can you still give out more subsidies? Can you still afford to cut your